Yeah,
that was kind of the genesis of it all.
there you go. Interesting. And right after or right around the time where we almost had the TikTok ban.
Oh my gosh, dude, I know. And it's still looming, you know.
Yeah,
Well, you guys won't have the TikTok man, just us.
it won't be us. So
Well,
fantastic.
but
Hey,
oh my
uh,
gosh, dude, I know it.
we are live now on Facebook. So
Sweet.
we are gonna now let some people in the room. Got a couple people jumping on here. And we are just going to get rocking and rolling here. Just giving it a second for some people to jump on. Streaming this out to Facebook as well. Hope you guys are doing well. By the way, folks, if anyone is watching the replay of this, because I know we always have a ton of people watching the replay, feel free to comment down below the questions that you have as you do watch. And so we have two audiences here. So some of you are watching on Facebook. If you're watching on Zoom, you're obviously watching the live. If you got questions as we're going along, please do use the chat feature. We're more than happy to answer all of your questions. But that being said, folks, we are going to get rocking and rolling. So, Jake, go ahead, introduce yourself to people, tell people a little bit of who you are, what you do, just so they have a bit of a gist, and then we're gonna dive into some of the action items, the strategy stuff.
Cool. Sounds good. What's going on, guys? My name's Jake Cokerhands. I actually previously was a co-coach with CCI a number of years back, and I now work as an online health coach, as I'm sure many of you guys. I actually became a certified FDN. I know many of you guys. Chelsea, I see you've got your FDN as well. And so basically work in the functional health space, primarily coaching people with chronic gut issues like IBS, SIBO, reflux to get feeling better again.
Amazing, amazing. I love it. And you've been in the space a long time. For those that don't know, yeah, Jake, I mean, we go crazy way back. I feel like so you were initially a client of CCI. How like when was this? Was it like
Yeah, it
2018?
was 2018. You were my first ever business coach.
There you
That
go,
was
because
like
you
right when I barely like had just started online
yeah,
coaching.
yeah, you had just started online coaching. I remember, yeah, you're doing a lot of stuff in person still. Crazy how far. And then, yeah, you worked with us for years helping our clients, and you've helped so many people get to those 10K months, 20K months, etc., including some FTNs. You worked with Kim Hines, I remember,
Yep. Hmm.
back in the day, which is fantastic. So why don't you tell Jake a couple of the people that are watching here today, what has been kind of starting to work really well for you? Kind of give them a little bit of maybe like a taste, and then we'll dive into some specifics because I want to bring you on here because you've been noticing some things that have been working quite well for you recently. And I was like, hey, we should share this with the broader community. So maybe kind of walk people through. I know you said you started to work on some of the TikTok stuff 3 or 4 months ago and made some changes and started to notice some shifts. So let's just dive
Yeah.
straight into it.
Yeah, so funny enough, like I mean I've always gravitated pretty heavily towards Instagram. It's the platform that I got like my initial boost of momentum on back in 2018, 2019. I think right now my Instagram's at like 21,000 followers. So it's not a lot. You know, I will say had a lot of momentum going, took a little break when I was working with CCI and then came back and then I was just feeling like I was having a really hard time building any sort of traction or momentum with
Yeah,
that existing audience. I also, I also, frankly, like you know, what's kind of hot, what's popular right now is obviously like the reels, the short form, 90-second, quick bites of information, or even more condensed, like the 10-second B-roll with some text over the screen. And I was doing a lot of that and having a decent level of success with
right.
Instagram. But I've always been a person, especially even like back when I first started growing Instagram, somebody who's always really gravitated towards the long form type of content. In fact, I think that's what grew my audience quite a bit was when IGTV first came out. It was like the
Yes,
long
right.
form videos. They don't even have that anymore. And so I don't know. I was for a decent amount of time having a hard time with just delivering a lot of the information that I wanted to, because I like to kind of sit and ramble and talk about science and stuff. That's just me personally, right?
Yeah.
And it was kind of hard to be able to squeeze these complex topics in those short 90-second reels. And so I popped over to TikTok, and I know they have like the 10-minute videos, and I was just honestly just experimenting to see
Yeah.
what sort of results I would get with it. And so I started just kind of plopping down and doing these 3 to 5, sometimes even up to 10-minute talks
Yeah.
about particular, topics relating to gut health or SIBO or anything like that.
Right.
And funny enough, I started to get a lot of momentum and a lot of traction. I think I've done a good job with kind of indexing that page. We could talk about that as far as the SEO that I think is pretty important on TikTok. But since then, I've managed to find a nice little niche for myself with the long form content where I'm consistently getting, I mean, geez, at least my following now is at like 36K, but I mean, I'm getting
Right.
many videos over at least 50,000 views to multiple hundred thousands, like
Awesome.
consistently. Like it's not
Yeah.
just one. And I think the long form videos have just, I don't know, they work quite well there. I've taken and reposted a lot of those over on Instagram. I don't know if Instagram's quite there yet in terms of how much
Yeah.
they're favoring the long form content, but I do think right now there's a unique opportunity on TikTok for long form like talking head videos.
100%. And it's interesting because about 5, 6 years ago, there was this thought process in the online space of like if people would consume short form content, they would then consume longer form content, right? That was kind of the whole idea of like the funnel, right? Like it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we do the short pieces to get them into the audience, and then we do long form to keep them in the audience. But as the data started to come through, they realized that that wasn't true. It was people who liked long form content would find someone via long form content and stick with them for long form content. And people who liked short form content would find people through short form content and stay with them for short form content. And it started to be this thing where it's like, it's not actually like what we used to think. And you're just proving the point that you found these people who, frankly, they actually wanted long form content right off the beginning. They wanted to like
Yeah.
actually watch someone do whatever, talk for a long form or whatever it is. And this is, I mean, this is why people do well on YouTube, right? This is where people grow their audiences on YouTube. People who go to YouTube want longer form content. People who
Yeah.
read blogs or whatever, they like the long form content. And so, and this is just a, I mean, this is a good for anyone who's watching here, by the way. Like, this is actually a big plug for like, find out what kind of content you like to create, right? I think actually in a lot of ways, Jake, I think I'm similar to you. Like, I like long form content. Like, we used to do like podcast stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It. Terry and me might do it again sometime and might actually like revive it. But now I'm curious for your long form content. Do you have like a formula for it? Or do you have just like a hey, I kind of like this is how I do it. This is why I think it's doing well. Like give maybe some thoughts and tactical like ideas on it.
Yeah, I definitely have a little bit of a framework that I'll follow. And just to kind of echo real quick what you're talking, because you kind of compared TikTok to YouTube. And honestly, that's the way that I've been really thinking about TikTok, is it's almost like a YouTube 2.0 in the sense that many people will go onto TikTok and they're searching for answers to questions similar to somebody's like how to heal my bloating. Like people are searching for those types of things on TikTok, and like the results page is similar to YouTube in the sense that like I think you can organically index for some of those search
Right.
terms and keywords. And so as people keep searching for those videos, it's no longer based on like the how long ago you posted that video. If you
Yeah.
index well for the video, then you might be shown very highly for anybody who's searching for that video until somebody comes and like tops it. And so I think there's a really unique opportunity on TikTok in the same way as YouTube,
Totally.
however freaking many years ago. I mean, you could still grow on YouTube, but obviously it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
But TikTok is just a lot more authentic. There's less, I guess, production standards, if you will. I mean, a lot of YouTubers now have freaking $20,000 worth of lighting and recording equipment, and and
Yeah.
TikTok you just record on your phone. but you still have that organic
Right.
ranking
Yeah.
capability. But to answer your question about the framework that I follow, I mean, I keep it pretty basic. So I'll normally start off every video with a hook, just speaking to the pain or whatever specific symptoms or problems that my
Right.
ideal client's dealing with. And I'll just speak
Right.
obviously in terms of health. So, like, if you are struggling with, I mean, I don't even think they're that good of hooks, honestly. Like, if you're struggling with
Right.
XYZ and you haven't been able to figure out, the root cause of your symptoms, then you definitely want to listen to this video. So I start off with the hook, addressing who I'm speaking to, and obviously the hook's going to be in the title over
Yeah.
the top, like in text as well. I'm
Yeah.
making sure that however I want that video indexed, I'm making sure this to say that particular word if it's
Right.
acid reflux or bloating or
Right.
gastritis, and I have it also in the text on the screen as well. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I do is I just give a call to action. I tell people who I am. I give a call to action for them to follow me because again, a lot of these videos on TikTok now are being pushed to like a non-follower audience. So I'll normally say something along the lines of, and by the way, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jake Cokerhans. I'm a certified functional practitioner who specifically works with people dealing with chronic gut issues like SIBO, IBS, and GERD. And I post tons of how-to videos walking you through the exact steps for how to heal your gut. So make sure you're following me so you can see all those videos. Something
Right.
like that, right? So I say
Yeah.
who I am, who I help, and then I tell them to follow me. After that, I get into the meat of the post, right? So I'm just kind of talking about whatever it is. And then honestly, I don't think it has to be super long form. You could even
Right.
break it up into a series of smaller videos and be
Right.
like, this is part one of a 5-part series where I'm going to be teaching you everything you need to know about how to cure your or how to heal your IBS or whatever.
Right.
And so you go through the meat of it, and then at the very end, I normally just do a call to action for people to. I mean, there's two ways that you could technically do this.
Mhm.
At this moment in time, I'm actually seeing a lot of success, surprisingly, with direct call to actions to an application form. I
Right.
mean, I've tested both where I've done a CTA for like a free value piece, like a free resource, a document, or a training video.
Right.
But right now, it's just like it's easy enough for me to just tell them to go to my page. So I'll be like,
Yeah.
um, so hopefully this video was helpful. And look, if you right now are somebody who just feels super frustrated, you feel like you've tried all these different things and nothing seems to work, and you're just looking for a clear path to healing where somebody can tell you exactly what to eat, what supplements to take, and what to do with your lifestyle every single day so that in the next few months you could get back to living your life symptom free. Well, that's exactly what I help all of my one-on-one clients with inside of my program. And so if you're interested in learning more about what it's like to work with me, go ahead and fill out the application in my bio.
Yeah.
And then in that application, what I've essentially done is I've made sure to have and I don't know how many people actually go through this, but I have it say, please read all this information carefully before applying. I have a little description. It's just a type form, but
Yeah.
in there, I've actually included a pre-call video that I mean, I've tested a few of these. Funny enough, the one that I've found to work the best
Mhm.
is actually where I just give them a sneak peek of my onboarding video that I use for my clients. And
Right.
so rather than it feeling like I'm selling to them or like pitching to them on like a sales presentation, it's almost like they get an inside look at what's going on with my clients once they're in the program. And I'm kind of like hyping up the clients. I'm talking about everything that they're going to
Right.
be getting. I'm like talking about, yeah, just like what sort of transformation they can expect. But I think that maybe it feels, I guess maybe it brings their sales resistance down a little bit because
Right.
again, I'm not trying to sell them. It's just like, hey, see what's going on the inside. Like this is our onboarding video.
Behind the scenes.
So, I haven't like split tested that or anything, but it's just one thing that's working really well for me. And most people who get on the sales call end up like I get really, really good responses from that. They're like, I mean, even people texting me beforehand, like, I watched the onboarding video, like I'm so excited for our call, like I'm so ready. And
I
so I
love
think
that.
that helps a lot. And so, there is
Yeah.
a degree of warming them up prior to actually getting on the sales call, even though even though I am going like direct to application with this particular funnel.
Sure. That makes sense. Okay, I want to pause you because you just spat out so much stuff that I need to like I need to break this down for people so that there's like bullet points, people.
Yep, yep, yep.
So first thing that you said is you did actually some research on like what people are searching stuff. That's the first thing. People are searching stuff. A lot of people don't use Google anymore. Even like my wife Terry, like she never Googles, she just uses ChatGPT. But some
Yep.
people, like for me, when I'm looking for like a recipe, like we got a new Ninja creamy ice cream machine thing that is on TikTok. Guess where I look for the recipes? I search for it on TikTok. I go to
Yep.
TikTok and I search Ninja creamy like Reese's peanut butter ice cream recipe, right? And so they're searching stuff. And so the first thing is you did is what is my ideal client searching? You can find what other videos are doing well with your keywords, and you start to realize, okay, this is the stuff that I'm going to create. So then you have a video formula where you start with like the hook with the acid reflux or the gut health. You start with those words, but then you actually have that little kind of thing about like, this is who I am, this is what I do. You can follow along if you want more. And then you dove into the value aspect of it, right? And then
Hmm.
at the end, you had this call to action for your program. And it's after basically listening to you for a couple minutes and
Yeah.
warmed people up. And then your application form is really great. You have it really thorough. You have a really good setup. You even show them the onboarding behind it, basically side of things. Am I getting everything so far that you said so far?
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah,
make sure that
exactly.
I'm repeating this just because I know there's people watching this who are like, hey, wait, what am I all doing?
Yeah, that's right.
Now, and I want to share this with people because some people that are watching this are like, I'm not on TikTok. Should I be on TikTok? Daniel's asking, I'm avoiding TikTok due to cybersecurity concerns. Should I take off my tinfoil hat? Well, Daniel, my take on it is that if you're on social media, they're collecting information.
That's how I feel too. I'm like,
Like it's
they
either
probably got all my information by now, you
yeah,
know.
either be
I
on
don't think I'm
social
keeping
media.
anything private at this
Exactly.
point.
Exactly. But the actually the principles I want to talk about the principles here. Doing the market research that Jake is talking about, having a good formula for his videos, the call to action, the application form, those are all things we can do in different ways on different platforms if you're not on TikTok. But I'm actually curious, Jake, because I'm sure you're getting a lot of views, getting a lot of comments. What are you doing with like people who are commenting and asking questions? What are you doing with, are people like messaging you on TikTok? Or are they like finding you on Instagram and messaging you? Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, dude, honestly, it got pretty insane for a while. You know, it just depends on the person. You'll see, and this is kind of funny. I used to do a lot of this early on when I was making those long form videos on Instagram, and I kind of got away from it, which is operating under the belief that if I can just disproportionately give more value than anybody else on the internet, then even though I might honestly be giving them all the information that they need to possibly go out and execute, they're still, if they're going to hire somebody, they're going to hire me before anybody else. And I know that obviously everybody has their own opinions, and I even for a long time felt like, well, you don't want to give away like everything. Like even I was always hesitant to even tell them like specific supplement brands and things that I would use, and I actually started just
Yeah.
being the guy to share that information because I was like, in my mind, the thing that finally switched it for me is I was like, if they don't get it from me, they're gonna go to YouTube and get it from some random YouTuber. Like, there's no shortage of information. Like me trying to gatekeep it for whatever reason, like, what's the point of that? And
Yeah.
so, I do give a lot of like very tactical
Love
step by
that.
step information. Some people might disagree with that. But with that being said, I do get a lot of people who are DMing. For a while, I was like helping out. Well, usually for most people, I take them through a process and I'll give you a rundown of what this looks like. So normally they'll come on and they'll basically tell me their whole life story with their symptoms and what's happening. And I'm like, holy crap, I can't,
Yeah.
be helping you just through the DMs. So normally I'll just be like, okay, would definitely love to help. Walk me through like what are your main symptoms right now? Like just so I'm clear, like what specific symptoms are you hoping to get rid of? Next thing, okay, how long has this been going on for? what things have you tried so far? And obviously, you could do this in any niche, right? So I'll be like, cool, have you gotten any lab tests done? Have you like gone to a GI doctor? Have you worked with any functional practitioners in the past? Or like, what have you been doing to try to address this? And then based off of what they tell me, a lot of times I'll ask them, I'll be like, so have you ever thought about working with a functional practitioner to like get some one-on-one help with this? Like just point blank, you know? And
Yeah.
then sometimes they even get context, like, because look, as much as I'd love to be able to help you, honestly, I wouldn't be able to give you any specific recommendations unless I knew way more about your situation and what specifically was going on. And so, like, is that something you're actually looking to get some help with? And then
Yeah.
almost all of them are like, yeah, absolutely. I'd be like,
Mm,
oh, cool. Then we'll book the call. So why don't we do this? Let's schedule a free consult where you and I can get on. We can chat through specifically what's going on, see if it's something I can help with. And at the end, if it makes sense, I can walk you through all the details of the program, pricing, and everything. We can talk about next steps.
yeah.
And so usually like people are asked, and I have been getting a lot of people who ask about, oh, will you tell me XYZ? Some people I'll give some basic answers, but I'm normally then taking whatever they say and then taking them through that process. What are your symptoms? How
Yeah.
long has this been going on? What have you tried so far? Have you thought about working with a practitioner? Do you want to get on a call?
Love it. Love the
Yeah.
formula. It's such a great formula, right? Because it's you're getting their goals, you're getting their struggles, you're getting the where have you come from and where do you want to go,
Yeah.
right? Like very simple, and I love it. And by the way, I just love that you're still in the mindset of just so much value. Like that is like, I mean, something that we have some clients on here. They know at CCI we're just all about like just give, give, give because value attracts value, right?
Yeah.
People we live in a day and age where frankly probably 99% of the information that used to be guarded behind some type of paywall is free out there.
Yeah.
And we have to understand as coaches is that most of the time when people want to work with us, it's not actually for necessarily information. It's oftentimes for how to use the information, how to customize it to you, how to hold you accountable to it, how to like actually it's more of those pieces, which I just think is so powerful.
Yeah.
So
And funny enough, I'll tell you,
yeah,
I get a ridiculous amount of comments, people saying, man,
yeah,
I can't tell you, it's so refreshing to have somebody who's not like gatekeeping information or withholding, and they're just like they genuinely want to just like help you. And I
yeah,
think that's another reason why, it's starting to gain some traction because it feels genuine. Like it feels like, oh, this is somebody who actually cares and isn't just like, dangling the carrot stick, so to speak, and just kind of baiting people and like, I'll tell you just enough. And that works, right? It's like it does work. I'm not going to say that it doesn't, but I think it's maybe a bit of a pendulum swing where I think so many people have gone in that direction of like the short form content that's, doesn't it doesn't really get deep in any of these particular topics,
mhm.
and so I think people have really resonated with the long form stuff that I've been putting out.
I love that. I love that. And you build loyalty that way because if you're giving away so much and they can tell that you're giving it away and you're not like holding anything back, like people trust you. And
Yeah.
even when you're like this supplement brand or that supplement brand, like you're not gatekeeping, they'll trust you because they know what you're doing. And
Yeah.
I think that's the way to build such an awesome community. So we have a couple. By the way, folks, if you're watching, put your questions down below. So we had a question from a Megan. Um, she's basically saying I recently installed it and then uninstalled it because it was overwhelming and felt like the fast fashion of social media. I'm sure it would be helpful for me. She's an accountability coach. I think Megan, you do it for moms specifically, I believe, or women specifically. Not sure how to use it yet. So, I mean, Jake, I want you to speak to this, but I think I'm going to go as basic as saying that formula that we talked about, as far as like do the research first. What are, if it's like moms who are wanting to work on like these habits or this accountability, what are they watching on TikTok, right? Like, Jake, if you were in a different niche, what would be the first thing that you would do if you wanted to use TikTok?
Yeah, I mean, I would think about what are people searching and looking up who are in your, demographic, people who are trying to improve in whatever particular area that you are helping people in.
Yeah.
Like, think about what things might they be going to YouTube for, genuinely, like how-to videos, like how to uh, for an accountability coach, I don't know what sort of accountability it would be, right? But like let's just use like tax planning and finances because I see a lot of people on there who
Yeah.
blow up like just such a random niche and they're just teaching people about like how to save money on their taxes and like all these like financial tips that most people like most of us growing up we were never taught. We never learned any of that stuff. Like things you can write off on your taxes, how to budget better, like things like that, like the how to's, and and those videos and those types of pages go off, and so again I really think of it as like a if you were Googling for answers or information, or you were doing that on YouTube, and I think you just put your phone up. Like I literally, this is the background of every single one of my videos. I got one of these thingies, and I set my phone on it, and I
I
just
love it.
sit and talk. I that's literally it. It's like the most basic, simple formula. And funny enough, my wife Callie, I mean, she started doing the exact same thing as me for like PCOS and her account, same exact formula. Her account is blowing up now. Like we're like competitively
Amazing.
racing because we're kind of close to each other. And so it's
Well, there you
it
go.
works. I mean, it's two for two at least, like with that particular strategy
Hey,
that's
that's a
doing
good
well.
strategy. That's a good strategy. So, and let's maybe talk some expectation management because I think sometimes people can watch trainings like this and like, oh my gosh, I'll go make this type of video and I'm gonna blow up. So maybe let's talk about okay, how much time will, and we can't say for certain, obviously, but how much time and consistency do you feel like people need to really put into this just to like start to build it up? Because I know you'd been on TikTok for years, right?
Yeah.
So maybe talk a little bit about like the learning curve because I never want people to assume that I will just do this one thing and then I will be making 20 grand a month.
Yeah. Yeah, the number one thing that I've learned with TikTok is that it's really about indexing your page correctly from the beginning. So like for example, I think they just did an update so you can't see this on your own personal page, but
Right.
like just recently if you posted a video at the very top of the video there was like a little search bar and it would either say related content or something like that or find related content or there would be a particular keyword at the top of the video, meaning that you have done a good enough job to get that video indexed for a particular topic. And you can still
Yeah.
see it like if you have somebody else who goes to your page, you can look at your videos and scroll through and you can see find related content or a keyword, meaning that you did your job. And so
100%.
I think like you can build momentum relatively quickly as soon as you really teach TikTok
Yeah.
what you're there we
Yeah. Yeah.
go. Okay. For pages, sure you can hear me.
Oh, we have broke up there for a second, Jay. Can you still hear me? No. No. Folks, comment down below. Can you still hear us? Let us know. Our internet is.
Yeah, I can. It's just,
Here we
oh,
go.
there we go. Are we
We're back.
back? Are we back?
We're
Okay.
back. We're
I think
back.
we might be good now. Okay, sorry about that.
No.
But again, I think the sooner you can train the algorithm to tell it like what your page is about, the sooner you'll grow. And with that being said, that's where it becomes very important for you to like hone in on your particular niche as opposed to talking about a million different random things. You could talk about different topics within that niche, but like from what I've learned, ideally you want to have the keywords that you want to index for in the title of the or in your name, right? On your profile. You want to have it in your bio. You want on every video, you want to speak it like within the first sentence, and ideally you're using that keyword over and over and over again in the video. You want to have the text on the screen, like your hook, the title of the video, to have that keyword. And then you also want to have the keyword in the description and then in the hashtags. And that's at least what I do because
I
I'm
love
trying to send as many signals as possible to TikTok that, like, this is about bloating, or this is about IBS, or about SIBO, or about acid reflux. And in doing that, you'll find that eventually, if you just, I mean, I would say 20 or so posts, and maybe you even start by doing like a series again, like a, part 1 through 10 on a particular topic where you go deep and you're really training the algorithm. Eventually, if you do that well, then, the content's going to be pushed to the exact type of people who are
it.
searching for that content. And if you have a good attention grabbing hook, the more watch time that that video gets, the more it's going to keep getting pushed out to a broader and broader audience. And so, I mean, obviously, any growing on any platform takes time. Like, you got to be consistent with it. But I think that's kind of like a prerequisite, is you really have to hone in on, like, what are the top 3 to 5 maybe keywords that you want to technically rank for or index for on TikTok's algorithm, and then make
100%.
sure that that's always top of mind with the content that you post. And I found that when I started doing that more specifically, that's when things started growing.
I love that. And you know what? It's funny because I have a TikTok account that's just for my personal hobbies. It's called Canadian Mountain Boy, and over the last couple of years, it's grown to 40 some thousand followers. And you know what's funny? Everything you're saying here is the exact reason that that account grew.
Yeah.
Because guess what I would do? I would create these like 2 minute long TikToks about just like, hey, this is a hike I went on. These are some of the views here. Like, check this thing out. And I would use the words. I would have like the location tags and all these different things.
Yep.
And the following would just come in like crazy because
Yep.
I was literally just sharing like, hey, you should come check this out. I did this. This is what it looks like. This is how hard it is. This is like the easy part. This part's a little bit scary. This is like who it's for. And I would always have the name of everything, but I would have like the location, like Banff. I would have it in the hashtag. I had it in my bio. And as we're saying all these things, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how it works. And it's just
Yeah.
like it's so funny when formulas that you didn't know were formulas are like just tried and true, right?
Yep.
Um, so folks, I hope you're taking notes on this. We got a couple questions here. You know, let's because I don't want to take up too much of Jake's time because he's a busy man, runs a really great business here. So we got a couple questions here. Mila, one of our current clients in CCI, is asking, I struggle with how long these long form videos take to make and edit. It's a lot easier to create short form content for me. Now, I'm curious, Jake, how much editing are you doing on these?
All I do with these videos is I'll just go in and I'll like trim the, first
Yeah.
1 to 1/2 second at the beginning and the end so that it's like, not me pushing the button and then
Yeah.
unpush, I just trim that up and then I put a title. Originally, I was adding like the captions or whatever, but then I was spending time going through and fixing all the typos when like it auto generates them. So I don't even do that anymore. I'll
Yeah.
just trim the ends of each clip. I will put a title and
Mhm.
then I put a little, because I mean, Instagram just started doing this too, but this was one of the things that I thought was the coolest about TikTok is you hold this the right side of the screen and it puts it on 2x speed. So
Yes.
that is lowering the barrier to entry for some of these long form videos. Like, I get it, 10 minutes of just sitting to like listening to a normal paced video is kind of long, but if you can put it on 2x speed, it's like you can rip through those things.
Yeah.
And so I'd just say like hold here for 2x speed. I don't think you necessarily have to do that, but I say that because my videos are like 5 to 10 minutes long usually, and then the
Yeah.
title and then those edits. So it honestly, I was finding it was taking me longer to do those short form videos because I had to get all creative with it and find like short little B-roll clips in my camera roll and like to me, I don't know. It's easier for me to just sit down and like talk about something, but I know
Well,
not everybody's the same way, and so I
for
get
sure.
it. Yeah.
For sure. And yeah, specifically for you, Neela, like I know obviously you're doing a lot on Instagram, which that stuff is working well on Instagram.
Yeah.
But for some of this long form content, it's so funny how sometimes raw stuff works very well, and you don't need to have all the crazy edits as short form video. So
Yeah.
someone else was asking how long is considered long form. I think you were saying what, Jake? Like 5 to 10 minutes?
5 to 10 minutes usually, but I mean, honestly, it doesn't even, I would consider anything longer than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
3 minutes or longer, like I don't really like it when my videos go 8 to 10 minutes. I'd prefer to keep it like 3 to 6 minutes usually. It's kind of what I stick to.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Folks, we're going to stay on here for 3 more minutes. So if you have any last questions, please comment them down below. Or if you're watching the replay on Facebook or YouTube, you can comment them down below there. Jake, anything else off the top of your head that people should be doing if they're using TikTok?
Hmm. No, man, I think we did a really good job covering everything. Again, I think making sure that your page is indexed, getting really clear on what topic you want to speak on. And I would do a few different series, like part 1 through 5 or longer series on
Yeah.
maybe a few different sub niches. So, like, just for an example, maybe one for me would be on like SIBO and chronic bloating. Another one would be on acid reflux. Another one would be on constipation. I'm
Right.
actually finding funny enough that the reflux videos, although some of my other ones still crush, but like the reflux specifically really like took off. So
Interesting.
I started to double down on me talking more about acid reflux.
Yeah.
And so I think it's the same thing with whatever sub niche you're in. Do video series where you can kind of like get them to follow along with the rest of the value and the content that you're posting, and then maybe just try to find out which of those kind of keywords within your niche does best. And you can also do it through the way that Ruben had mentioned, which is take an hour or two where you're just sitting down thinking about some of the main questions that people are looking up in your topic, and then type those in TikTok and look at some of the highest performing videos and
Yeah.
see what are their hooks and their titles, and how are they grabbing people's attention at the beginning of their videos. I mean, I know for women, like the whole get ready with me rambles where they're like doing their makeup or their hair and they're just talking, like those just captivate people, I swear. And you could do that, get ready with me for any topic. Like you're just like
Yeah.
literally doing your hair and talking about whatever topic. Or, I know some people do it while they're like cooking or like cleaning vegetables or something like that. And so, um, yeah, indexing the page and then just really honing in on that particular topic. Don't get too random with the things that you're talking about. That's another thing. I mean, I know there's a lot of value and merit to sharing about your personal life, and obviously, I do a lot of that on Instagram, but
Yeah.
admittedly, I haven't done a lot of that on TikTok because I'm just nervous. I don't want to like rock the boat with the algorithm or like how my
You're
videos are
working.
being
You're
seen.
working right now.
And so yeah, I keep it all business on TikTok, but
I love it.
that's just a theory. So I'm hesitant to like share outside of that very specific
Yeah.
thing that I'm trying to get indexed on the algorithm for.
Yeah. You could share too at the TikTok stories or whatever, little
Yeah,
personal
exactly.
like
Yeah, I mean that could
that.
work.
Okay, we got a question from Tristan. She's an FDN. She's asking, how do you decide on how to niche down? So she's in the gut health space, and for context, she works with like gut hormones like SIBO, PCOS, endo, etc. But she's like, I'm realizing that niching down might be better, and I guess she's probably asking, just like, how do you decide which one to go for?
I would do whatever one that gives you the least amount of headaches. Whatever one, I mean, whatever one that you genuinely enjoy working with that clientele. Like, and just for some context, this is probably only relevant to the FDNs, but like there was a time where I was like, oh, maybe I want to like help people with mold toxicity. But if any of you FDNers have worked with people with mold, it's like the worst, they're the most sick people ever, and it's so hard. And
Yeah.
so I would say like you just got to find, I mean, if you're passionate about helping a particular group of people, I think that's really important. But also
Mhm.
like what's your tolerability and willingness? Because some of these sick people, it can be very emotionally draining, even for me working with gut health. Like it's a lot of emotional cheerleading. And so I guess just finding what you are willing to tolerate, maybe something that you have had personal experience with. So you know, you have your own personal approach and strategy that you know has worked because you've lived it, right? So I don't know. Those would be the things that I would consider.
For sure. It's so hard to give advice when people ask like, what should I niche down into? Because
Yeah.
I mean, it's really personal in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
And
my wife Callie, she was doing gut health initially, then she moved to helping women with PCOS because she just enjoyed it more. She felt like the it was less stressful, you know, less at stake with, you know, because again, a lot of those gut health people are really, really sick and
right.
distraught. And so she found working with PCOS, she just enjoys it like way more. So
Yeah, 100%. No, great questions, folks. I think those are all the questions we have. Tristan says thank you. Awesome, folks. If you found this useful, please go ahead and let us know down below in the comments. Jake, thanks for taking your time on this. You didn't have to come and share this all with people.
of course, yeah, it was
But
fun.
anyways, folks, who found this helpful? Go ahead, comment down below. Because I don't know about you, but I even got some takeaways here today. So, and if people want to connect with you on TikTok, is it just your name, Jake
Yeah.
Cudger?
Jake Coker hands, first and last name.
There you go. There you go. Nice and simple, folks. So, anyways, Jake, thanks for jumping on, folks. We're going to be ending the live here, but if you have any other questions, you can feel free to reach out to myself or Jake down below in the comments. And we'll see you folks in the next one. Bye for now, folks. We'll chat
See you guys.
soon.